We're going to be looking at chapter 9 and 10 today. Just before I do, if you could just reflect on the last number of weeks and think about those things that have really impacted you. Maybe write those things down. Maybe if you can think of maybe 3 or 4 different things that have stayed with you and that have really helped you, and you can use those going forward. So write those down, and then when you meet in your groups, just share that with one another and talk about that a bit more. So we're going on to chapters 9 and 10. So chapter 9 is all about having a thoughtful conversation. So last week we looked at how we need to greet one another. People, new people who come to church, people who return to church, people who are feel alone, isolated, already struggling, children, etc. And then how we move on from there to have deeper conversations. And he talks about how these conversations are expressions of love, and the way that we go deeper with these conversations is get to affections, to get to the feelings, to get to what is most important. And he talks about asking that question, how are you? And sometimes we can ask that question and we maybe don't really mean it, and the person realizes they don't really mean it. It's just sort of a thing we say in passing. But when we really mean that, when we really say how are you, and how people that can open up the conversation. We want to move into another person's world. We want to really understand them, understand the things that move them, and that we can be moved by those same things. And he gives a breakdown of that sort of process of having those thoughtful conversations. We hear the information, we hear what's important to that person, and we let that thing affect our own hearts. We then pray for that, pray for that person, maybe ask, can I pray for you, or what can I pray for you? And then we follow up. The next time we see them, we say, this is the thing we talked about last, I've been thinking about that, I've been praying about that. How are you doing with that at the moment? I remember just having a conversation with someone once, and thinking about this idea of knowing someone well enough to pray for them. And I just asked that question, how can I pray for you? And I just remember, that the person just opened up to me about, the things that they have been struggling with. So just that simple question, how that can open up conversations. And the next, chapter 10, is all about seeing the good and enjoying the good. So we really want to see the good in people, and we want to tell them that we see the good in them. And it helps as relationships take place in the context of love and respect. So we see, it gives an example of Paul. In the Corinthian church was a bit of a mess. They were up to all sorts, but Paul still sees the good in them. He still sees the work of the Spirit in them. And the reason that we look for good is because we are made in the image of God. Okay, sin has tainted us, but the image of God still remains, and that's the reason that we can enjoy one another. I love the example he gives about the pastor, the couple that goes to the pastor. There's this come with their marriage problems. This guy sort of, seems like a nasty piece of work. Seems he doesn't maybe really care for his wife. Quite difficult, and he goes along, and the pastor acknowledges and sees the good in this guy. The fact that he's willing to go along with his wife to this meeting with the pastor, he acknowledges the fact that it shows that he really cares about his wife. And it would have been easy for him to see all the ugly things, all the sin in that guy's life, but because he was able to see the good, then that guy ended up sharing more of his heart and in seeing the good in people and in telling them that we see the good, that allows them to share the hard things in their life. It also talks about the things that we need to notice or see the good of, such as, you know, character qualities, kindness, generosity, love, patience, gentleness, the talents and gifts. You know, I'm just thinking about even just in our church, things we take for granted. You know, I'm just really thankful that we have musicians in church, that something we take for granted. I'm really thankful that God has given those people those gifts that we can sing together. And then sort of know some people's pleasures and hobbies. Example he gives again of sort of recognize, you know, people talk about, you know, teams they support, like, you know, think about even around here people who support football teams, and how there's sort of, you can go deeper in conversations with that by enjoying the good. You know, often the reason that they support the team and have such a love and affection for the team is because, you know, it's maybe because their dad took them to the match, you know, since they were a kid, and their dad is no longer with us, or, you know, some family connection. So yeah, we want to encourage each other by talking about the good, and by doing that our affection for that person grows, and it makes it much easier to talk about harder things. So again, just answer the questions in each chapter, and I hope you get something out of your time together. Thanks. See you later. Bye bye.